Welcome back. So in this video we're going to get our breadcrumbs actually doing something meaningful. Okay, that's the vibe, and thank you very much. Now you know that this is all being called from the templates module. Okay, here it is, it's called draw breadcrumbs, and in order for this to be fully functional we're going to need to pass some things into this draw breadcrumbs function. So I'm going to add on a data array. It's exactly the same vibe as we had with the pagination stuff, and I'll leave a little comment here and it'll say, for this to work, data must contain, and the three things are going to be template, current page title, and breadcrumbs array. That's the three things that we need. Thank you very much. And we're going to pass those three things straight into the view file. Okay, thank you very much indeed. So if we open up our store items, that view.php thing, we now know that we need to pass a variable in here, actually an array. Now I'm not going to call it data because there's variables called data everywhere. I'll call it breadcrumbs data just so that we're really clear about what this thing needs. So it's going to take that breadcrumbs data and it's going to pass that into this thing here. Can you handle the vibe? I do hope you can. So what I'm going to do now is open up store items, and on the view thing, which is here, I'm now going to space down and I'm going to build the breadcrumbs data array. Let's start building the thing. Okay, so breadcrumbs, now remember it's going to be called breadcrumbs data, right? So I'm going to say breadcrumbs data, and by the way, just as a little reminder, that's the things we need, right? So I'm going to say template equals, and in this case it's going to be public bootstrap, okay? And then I'm going to say breadcrumbs data current page title. Well, in this case it's going to be data item title. Okay, remember we have a data variable that has fetched all of the item details, and item title is one of those. Okay, and then I'm going to say breadcrumbs data breadcrumbs array, and for the moment I'll just say blah. Okay, we'll worry about that in a minute. So data breadcrumbs data equals the breadcrumbs data. Can you handle the vibe? Can you handle the vibe? Well, thank you very much. I'm now going to save that, and then I'm going to open up the breadcrumbs public bootstrap, right? And then right in here where this last thing is, okay, I'm going to say echo current page title. Okay, now if I refresh the screen, you'll see that the current item title, actually Fender Classic Player blah blah, is displaying here. It's very cool. It's absolutely fantasticola. Okay, so all we need to do now is get these things working here, and that's us going to be in fantastic shape. Okay, so the vibe is, and in fact, let me just show you this from the perspective of this file here. Okay, do you see how we've got these different links here, right? Like so. Okay, all these different things happening, and you know, something like this, right? We can add as many of these as we want. Can you see that? Okay, and you'll know that I've got a thing called the breadcrumbs array. Well, that is going to be an array of all of the little links and whatnot that we want to have on this breadcrumbs trail. So we can say for each breadcrumbs array, oh gee, hold on a second, give me some autocomplete, man. For each breadcrumbs array, as key is set to value, we can go echo single quotes now, and we can just copy one of these little sons of a guns. Okay, and we can paste in like this. Can you handle the vibe? And this one over here, would be the key. So the key would be the link, and the value would be where the text is, okay? Now, we don't even have a breadcrumbs array, but you can see that this is really simple, and I'm actually pretty confident that this is going to work, okay? So, on store items, instead of saying breadcrumbs array equals blah, I'm going to say breadcrumbs array is generate breadcrumbs array, and I'm going to pass in the item ID, okay? That's the vibe. So we'll have that function down here, and I'll move this up so you can see what's happening, okay? So we'll have something like breadcrumbs array. Now, just to prove that this works, by the way, just to prove that this works, I'll make a few dummy ones up, right? So we'll have first, second, and third. Okay, I'm just proving a point here. Oh, Jiminy. And that would be second, and that would be third. I'm going as fast as I can, folks. Okay, if we do that, return the breadcrumbs array like so, then now if we refresh the screen, look, see, the links are all super cool. That's the vibe. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. So, let's build a meaningful breadcrumbs array. What's this thing actually going to contain, okay? Well, I think the first one should contain a link to the home page. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, so let's have one that goes to the home page URL, okay? Something like that, and we'll have it saying home, okay? Now the next breadcrumb, I think, should say the subcategory page, okay? So subcat page, worry about that in a minute, and subcat title, and I think that's us, okay? That's ideally what we're aiming for here. So if I hit refresh, this is the vibe, okay? So basically it's going to say home, Fender guitars, then Fender classic player, triple telly in black. That's the vibe. Now if you're thinking, well, what about the parent category? Where does that go in the breadcrumb trail? Well, if you look at the navigation, you'll find that there is no page called guitars. Maybe we could have made that and we could add that in, but we don't have that just now. So the breadcrumbs are going to be made up of the home link that goes back to the home page, right? Here it is. Then we're going to have the subcategory thing, then the item. That's all we need. Okay, so let's get the subcat working. And in order for this to work, I'll just write this actually. We need to figure out what the subcat ID is for this item. That's what we need to do. Now I'm going to make this in a little function of its own, and we'll call it something like get subcat ID, and it takes in an update ID, okay? So it's going to figure out what the subcat ID is for an item. That's what this does, okay? So to do that, I'm going to load up store cat assign, and then I'm going to do a little query on store cat assign. I'm going to say get where custom, and we're going to get where. Now let's have a think about store cat assign for a moment. Let me bring it up. Here's store cat assign, okay? So we've got a cat ID and an item ID. So I'm going to say get where the item ID is equivalent to the update ID, okay? So then I'm just going to loop through those results as is the tradition around here, and then I'm going to say subcat ID equals row cat ID, and then I'm going to return the subcat ID. We have now successfully figured out what the subcategory is for this item, okay? So let's just make this thing work. Let's bring it all to life. I'm going to say subcat ID is this, get subcat ID, okay, that's kind of cool. And just to prove that this is cool, I'll echo out the subcat ID and I'll hit refresh. We know that Fender Guitars has a category ID of 2, so if I refresh the page, we should see a number 2 on the screen. Okay, so here we go, refresh, and there is the number 2. Thank you very much indeed. That's all looking pretty good. Okay, so now that we have the category ID, right, now that we have the subcat ID, we just need to get the title and the URL of that subcategory. Okay, that's all we need to do. Now I'm going to load up store categories. Do we have something for figuring out what the URL is? Get ID. Oh gee, I'm actually not entirely sure if we do. We had a thing in site settings. Could that be something to do with it? Maybe, I don't know. Let me just do a search here. Site settings. I have no notes, folks. I have no notes, you know. Item segments. Oh gee. Okay, we're going to have to get our own thing made here. So the vibe is we need the cat title or the subcat title and the URL. Okay, now surely we've got something for the title. Right, here we go. Thank you very much indeed. So we can use that, right? It's part of store categories. So let's start with the subcat title. So subcat title equals, now we, just to be clear, we need to load up our store categories module, and then I'm just going to say this store categories get cat title and get that for the subcat ID. Okay, so if I echo the subcat title and do die, it should say Fender Guitars. Fender Guitars, right? Perfect, that's good. We now have the subcat title. Next, we need to just get the subcat URL. Okay, so let me just tidy up these comments here. So get the subcat title. There we go. And the vibe here is get the subcat URL. So to get the URL, I think we need to, you know what, I'm going to build a thing here. I'm really surprised that I don't have anything for getting the URL. Now hold on a moment, have we got, let me have a quick look. Store categories, cat URL. Okay, so let's see. I think I'm going to build a thing. I am so surprised that we've not made that. Okay, I'll build a little function up here on store categories that says get the full cat URL, and it takes in an update ID. Okay, so that's going to load up site settings. Do you remember all of that stuff? Okay, and we're looking for the items segments. Okay, so I'm now going to say, where on earth am I? I'm now going to say items segments equals this site settings get items segments, and then I'm going to say that the cat URL equals the base URL. Okay, and then I'm going to add on those items segments. Okay, and if we return that cat URL, that should give us the full URL that links to that category. Okay, so back on to store items, I'm going to say subcat URL equals store categories get full cat URL, and we're passing in the subcat ID. Okay, so if we echo out the subcat URL just to make sure this all works and hit refresh, Okay, good. I'm glad that I made that mistake because this is not quite there. We need to also, of course, get the... Now, one moment. Get data. Do we have a get data from DB? Oh, gee, one moment. Yep, fetch data from DB. We've got this. Okay, so I'm going to add in a thing that says data is this. Fetch data from DB update ID, and I'll say that this cat URL. Oh, one moment. Let me just clarify what's happening. I'm going to swap this around a little bit, and I'm going to call this full cat URL, and then I'm going to say cat URL equals data. Now we do have a column here that's called cat URL, okay? Something like that. And then I'm going to say that the full cat URL is all of that stuff there. And then we add on the cat URL, okay? So that hopefully is going to work. Let's refresh the page. Okay, we've got the double / thing again. Sorry about that. Let's go again. Right, excellent. So we now have the subcat URL. That's fantastic, Ola. So this is all really easy. Now that we have the subcat title and the subcat URL, now all we have to do is we just say breadcrumbs array, and it's going to be subcat URL is equivalent to the subcat title, okay? Like so. So that's the vibe, and thank you very much. If we hit refresh, you'll see that actually we can take this one out. You'll see if we hit refresh, we now have home, works perfectly. We have Fender guitars, that works perfectly, and of course we have this thing here. So the breadcrumbs are all working perfectly. Congratulations. I'm sorry that this video was so long. Anyway, before we congratulate ourselves too much, I'm going to just put a little fly in the ointment here. Let's imagine that we are interested in this guitar here, okay? This thing here, okay? So it's the CD60 blah blah, right? So you can see that we've got home, Fender guitars, and that's very nice, okay? However, I'm going to make things really difficult. In this shop, we can have items that belong to more than one category. Check this out. I'm going to create a new category, and it belongs to folk instruments, and I'll say something like, I don't know, something like stringed folk instruments. I'm making this up as I go along, okay? Stringed folk instruments, right? Look, we've got a brand new category. Isn't that fantastic, Ola? Now I'm going to manage the items, okay? And I'm going to find that Fender CD60 thing here. Let's just find that. Okay, and Fender, oh, there's a few of them. Is it the natural? It's the natural. So I'm going to go into this Fender here, and I'm going to click on update item categories, and I'm going to assign this to folk instruments, stringed folk instruments, submit, okay? So now, this is kind of interesting. I'm going to go, actually, I'm not going to, in fact, I'm not going to do anything and break anything. Let me just see. I'll take that out for the moment, and we'll take out the thing that builds the array. I'm just breaking everything here, man, and it's a real drag. Actually, it won't do any harm, but here's the vibe right now. Look at this. We've got Fender guitars. Here is our instrument. The breadcrumbs have temporarily gone. Then we've got stringed folk instruments, and look, here is the same instrument. The question is, how are you going to build the breadcrumbs in those kinds of scenarios? And that is a question that I'm going to answer on the very next video.